It must be working. I am live, so it must be working. Taking great risks for you. Showing you what Cook City, I think I'm in Wyoming or Montana. I don't even know if I'm in Cook City or, I know I'm in Cook City. I thought it was in Montana, but I might be in Wyoming. I think that I am. I think that I am in Wyoming. I was tricked by this, quite honestly, on my ride yesterday. It was about an hour and a half, maybe not that long. I don't know, maybe 45 minutes going into the Beartooth Highway on my ride. And it said entering Montana. And now that I think about it, I kind of understand it a little better. Because I'm in Wyoming here, and I'd always thought I was kind of in Montana. Sitting on the front stoop, front patio, outside of what hotel am I at? The Soda Butte Tavern and Casino. I tell you what, a lot of restaurants and hotels say that they're a casino. I think it's pretty misleading. There might be a couple slot machines or something in the dirty corner of the bar in there, but it's not the casino that I think of when I used to go gambling too often. But good morning, and good morning to you. Hello, Roger. Hello, B-Storm. Hello, Maverick. And hello, anybody else that joined. My name is Ken Tracy, and this is Coffee with Ken. I'm trying to figure out if this is a good angle. Kind of a low angle. Wish I could work it a little higher. So I'd be like this. And you'd see people loading their motorcycles, and you'd see mountains in the distance. I don't know how to do that right now. So, hello, Rich. I wonder if I put it up on one of these posts. Would that be a good angle? Would I lose Wi-Fi connection? Let's see. Let's just try. Let's throw caution to the wind. That's kind of good. I don't want to move too much. But at least I wouldn't be hunting. I tried. Should I go in my hotel room? I think I better go in my hotel room. I don't want to worry about spotty connection. You're getting an inside look of the Soda Butte Lodge and Casino. The fancy digs where I stayed last night. You're coming with me. You're coming back to my connection again. I don't know. I tell you what, it's hard getting Wi-Fi in this area. It is hard getting Wi-Fi. Put you down. I'm not even going to worry about you. We're just going to do the best we can. Turn on some lights. I say it a lot. This might be my worst show I do to date. It's kind of dark. There's got to be more lights in here than that. That'll have to do. Hang with me. I appreciate your patience. Slide a chair. Who stayed with me? Roger hasn't had his coffee. I like how Roger talks about himself in the third person. That's kind of more comfortable. It's nice being more comfortable. It's nice being outside. But, again, this might be one of my not do shows, or maybe, I don't know. Jimmy does like Elaine Maverick. Jimmy punched Kramer in the mouth, which led Kramer to sitting at the front table with Mel Torme. Only a couple of us are going to know what I'm talking about. Good morning, Brian's Rock. Thank you all for joining. I apologize for any connection issues. I'm coming at, or good morning to you. My name is Ken Tracy, and this is Coffee with Ken. It is Saturday morning. It is July 20th. It is 6:48 a.m. Happy Saturday. Who was it? Brian asked what my favorite coffee was. My favorite coffee is the coffee I have in front of me. My next favorite coffee, and I don't mean literally the coffee I have in front of me. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to develop good habits. I'm trying to be grateful for the little things in life. And we have so many little blessings in life that we take for granted. It's easy to take life for granted. And I got a nice hot cup of coffee in front of me, and I'm excited to have my first sip. And my hope for you on this Saturday morning is wherever you are and whatever you're doing, that you got a hot cup of coffee in front of you as well. Cheers to us. It's not bad. It's not bad. Little coffee maker down. Again, I'm in a fairly low, there's no Hiltons or fancy hotels in Cook City, Wyoming, I'll promise you that. And so I got on yesterday. I've been working in the Mammoth Hot Springs in Yellowstone over the last 2 months. I'm working a seasonal job as a waiter there, so I can cover my financial responsibilities and put a roof over my head. And I stay in a dorm, and I eat in communal house or in a cafeteria, same cafeteria every day, off trays. And it just feels really, really good to get out of the park from time to time. Yesterday morning after I did my show and I think I'd had breakfast, I was sitting in the map room, which is a kind of fancy schmancy room in the hotel by where I work. And I knew this is my weekend. I know it's Saturday. It's everybody's weekend. Thanks, Maverick. But anyway, wanted to get out of the area and go on a little journey or on a little trip. It's kind of warm in here. Hang with me. Excuse me. I'm showing a little too much flesh. Might drive the lady. Jimmy drives the ladies wild. But anyway, I reached out to a buddy. Most of you guys know I own a scooter. I rode a scooter from Chicago to Yellowstone a couple months back, and it's a Suzuki Bergman 400. And some of my favorite things to do in this area, in Wyoming, in Montana, are just go for rides. And I was sitting there, and I reached out to a buddy. I did a map search of how long it would take. There's a famous highway in Montana, on the border of Wyoming and Montana, named the Beartooth Highway. It's not really a highway, but it's a road, an amazingly windy road through some amazing, over this mountain range between Yellowstone and a little city called Red Lodge. And I'd heard about it before, and I knew about it, and I knew I wanted to take a ride on it. And yesterday, as I was sitting there in the map room, I knew I had 2 days in front of me, and I reached out to a buddy and said I was thinking about going for a ride, but it's a 3.5-hour ride to Red Lodge and a 3.5-hour ride back. And that's conservatively, that's by MapQuest or Google Maps or whatever I use. And if you're like me, you're going to stop along the way, take some pictures. If you're riding a scooter, you're going to want to rest your legs and stretch your legs a little bit from time to time. And I wanted to do both. So I knew it would be 8 or 9 hours of riding round trip if I did it all in one day. But I looked a little closer. I realized there was a city called Cook City just outside of Yellowstone. It's about 50 miles from my starting point in Mammoth Hot Springs on the other side of Yellowstone. And I rode here. It took me about an hour and a half to get here, and it was a beautiful, beautiful ride that I'd never taken. There's a famous spot. I always forget. I forget Lamar Valley, a Lamar Valley that I'd always wanted to go through, and it's almost a must-see area for tourists to Yellowstone. It's a beautiful spot, just kind of inspiring, in that it's this huge kind of flat land with a river that runs through it between these massive mountains on both sides. And for whatever reason, wildlife seems to accumulate in Lamar Valley. And there were herds of buffalo, and apparently a bunch of wolves live there. I didn't see any. And there's a bunch of bears that live there as well, and I didn't see any. But it was an area I wanted to go, and I saw it, and it was beautiful. But anyway, kept riding. Pulled into Cook City yesterday. Again, about an hour and a half on into my journey, right at the start of the Beartooth Highway, and checked into this hotel, found Wi-Fi that worked adequately for anybody having bad connections, and walked around, did a little shopping, found the gift store across the way has Stetson hats at lower prices than I've been seeing at other gift shops. Still got me wondering. They have a variety of hats. They're not, I guess it doesn't have to be a Stetson. They have other fairly quality seeming hats. And I was trying them all on, and there's a biker rally going on down the highway, and I had a bunch of kind of Harley-looking guys walking around, and I'm sitting there being me, trying on different hats, seeing if I look cool. And I'll tell you, one Harley man gave me his full endorsement that I should get one. He says I could pull it off. Well, thank you from Charlotte, North Carolina. But anyway, well, let's take another sip of coffee. I'm just getting started. Oh, it's hot. It's hot. It is hot. And it's free. It's a good combination. That is a good combination. Anyway, checked in, walked around, wanted to stop for lunch somewhere. This is fascinating, I'm sure. But I didn't really feel like sitting down and getting served, and there's no fast food places anywhere around here. You can't just pull into a McDonald's and get a McDLT, not McDLT, I don't know, a mix something. So I went into a general store down the way and picked up some bridge mix. Oh yes, had nuts and raisins and some little M&Ms. It was really delicious. Ate about half the bag and decided I was ready to roll. Got on my bike, was a little bit nervous, didn't really know what was laying ahead. Hello, Will Bill Chill. Knew I had by car what MapQuest said was about an hour and a half drive ahead of me. And it was 64 miles of what I knew was a turny, twisty road from Cook City to Red Lodge, Montana. And started off, thought it was pretty right away. Pulled over on the shoulder and took off my helmet, got my bike parked just right, and my phone on the bike helmet on the ground, and snapped a picture, and then checked it out and realized I looked pretty cool from that angle, and the bike looked pretty cool, and it was the start of my road. And no, Roger. But anyway, decided to get back on, and had an awesome ride, and a beautiful ride, and a ride full of Harleys and full of experiences and full of just cool little mini adventures on the way, and meeting people and pulling over and checking out views. And Roger, I don't know where you're coming at, are temptation from the devil to keep me away from my goal of moving home. Roger, that's a weird thing to say. Roger just asked if buying a cowboy hat or a hotel was the temptation from the devil to keep me away from the goal of moving home. No, Roger, that's called living life. You still have to live your life. You still have to live your life. And this is called living my life on my day off and finding a little bit of joy along the way that is our journey, that is life. So, no. But anyway, really enjoyed the ride. I was talking to RJ, or not talking, but sent a message to RJ, and he asked how the ride was. And I think it was a bucket list thing to do. I got the joy of riding it twice because I got to Red Lodge in Montana, and all told, it was about a 4-hour ride from Mammoth Hot Springs, and it was a beautiful ride up and over this mountain pass where we got to like 11,000 feet above the tree line with little remnants of snow left out all over, kind of this barren land, if you will, with nothing but occasion like thin grass and boulders scattered about. It was reasonably flat, the top of this mountain, which was surprising. But just so beautiful and so much scenery and so many places to stop along the road and take pictures, and made what could have been an hour and a half ride, probably a 2.5-hour ride from Cook City to Red Lodge each way. And as a what was I saying? As an example of the getting there is half the fun. In my case, getting to Red Lodge Inn, which was a 3.5-hour ride according to Google Maps or whatever, from my original destination. Once I got there, I was only there about an hour and a half. Stopped at a coffee shop, looked around, saw thousands of Harley Davidsons riding up and down the road. Apparently there's a big motorcycle rally happening in Red Lodge Inn this weekend with various outdoor street fests and riding competitions and drinking competitions and hell being raised. And apparently Sturgis is 2 weeks away, and a lot of people kind of pre-party for Sturgis at Red Lodge in Montana. Who knew? Let's have a little more coffee. Oh. But anyway, had an awesome trip. And again, I think we forget the little blessings that we have in life. And when we're working, and we take for granted the little things you have in life, like having a fridge in your home with your own food in it, or having a bathtub in your bathroom, and having a comfy soft bed to sleep in, or the soft sheets. And I will tell you what, this is not a fancy hotel room by any stretch, but the sheets were soft. I had a little bit of cable. I got home from a tiring 7-hour scooter ride yesterday, or not home, but back to this hotel, and just felt so good to take a quick shower, walk around town, kind of stick my head in various bars to see if anyone was still serving food at 9 o'clock. And let me tell you, none of the bars were still serving food at 9 o'clock, and the restaurants were shut. This is a town of, I don't know, maybe 100 people, but kind of a little tourist spot along the road from Yellowstone to just leaving Yellowstone. Really cute little town. I'd call it a one stoplight town, but they don't have a stoplight. It's a strip of about maybe a quarter mile along this beautiful patch of road with a bunch of hotels and a couple of gas stations and some bars and restaurants and some gift shops and what have you. Did I see any tattoos, or did I get any tattoos? Henry Ziba, I'll tell you what, the motorcycle riders were all friendly. They look like motorcycle riders. They seem to get bigger. If they ride a Harley, they seem to get bigger and more intimidating. You picture these guys that may be accountants back in Kansas City or Chicago or wherever they're from, but it makes you uh, think that they're just because they're on a Harley, they're Hell's Angels. And I got a couple buddies that own Harleys that certainly aren't Hell's Angels. So, but it is a little intimidating pulling into a town where the motorcycle rally's going, and you're on a Suzuki Bergman scooter. But again, everyone was friendly, and I parked right along all these motorcycles, and had a great 2 cups of coffee at a cute little coffee shop in Red Lodge, which is probably a neat town. It's a town of a few thousand. I didn't even make it to the end. But it looked cool. It was historical, and it was filled with motorcycles yesterday. RJ wants to know if Cook City reminds me of Gardner. Oh no. Gardner's a town. Gardner's got like 3,500 people and a school. This is just a little kind of touristy spot along the highway that is life. And but it's a really neat place, and I could see coming here again. I think it's important for my mental health to get out of the park. The park for me is a place to work. The park for me is a place to work. I was talking about it yesterday, and RJ said, hey, should you spend more time in the map room? And I thought it was kind of funny because the map room is just a room, a nice room, little bar in it, and a little piano player. Nice room. Just outside the lobby in the hotel where my work is connected. And I'm probably there an hour and a half or 2 hours a day. And no, I shouldn't spend more time in the map room. That's plenty of time in the map room each day. But there's just not a whole heck of a lot of things to do other than work and rest and eat and shower and then go back to work when you're living at the parks. There's a employee pub where some people go, but it's not for me. And I'm not that into hiking, and I'm honestly usually too exhausted after the work shifts to even consider going on a hike. Yeah, no, and it felt so good taking a beautiful ride. I love riding. I was on the scooter for 3 or 4 hours one way and a couple hours back for 5 or 6 hours yesterday, and saw beautiful scenery and animals. And I'll tell you what, I would have liked a little more time on the ride back. There's a lot of hazards when you're driving the Beartooth Highway. Maybe it's because it's called Beartooth. It's especially scary. And if you're driving a car, all you got to worry about is staying on the road or maybe hitting another car. But when you're on a scooter, you're worried about another car. You're worried about staying on the road. And let me tell you, falling off the road on the Beartooth Highway does not sound very pleasant when you're on a scooter. But oh no, it's not just those dangers, which are obvious, or loose gravel, but there's plenty of signs that say, beware falling rock. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that other than be frightened. I mean, if a rock falls and hits me, the first time I'm going to know if a rock's fallen is probably when it smacks me. And then it's too late. There's signs that say, this is grizzly bear country. And let me tell you, at about 8:30 at night, when you're riding by what looks like what you would imagine if you were a grizzly bear, you and your family would hang out, and it's getting dark, and you're riding a scooter, and you don't see much other traffic almost no other traffic at this time for the last 15, 20 miles of windy road. And I'm on my scooter, and I'm not sure if I'm most worried about an elk walking into the road and crashing on that because it's goodbye, Ken, or a bear coming on the road, and whether the bear's there to eat me or just trying to cross the road and I run into it. Either way, it's goodbye, Ken. And what a yucky death that would be. And then I saw a sign that said, open range, expect cows on the road. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? They don't have fences up there. They don't keep their cows. I don't know how it works. I don't know. But there's these cows, not buffalo, but regular cows that you and I know. Big, heavy cows. They're just kind of wandering around up there. You don't want to run into a cow when you're riding a scooter. I promise you that. The cow doesn't want it, but I didn't want it more. So there were plenty of things to be frightened about on the ride home. And I felt very cool. I got a buddy that's a good rider and has ridden motorcycles or dirt bikes most of his life. And I wanted to text him about how proud I was and how I felt I could lean. And I wasn't scared, but I was a little scared of the height and the speed and the curves that I was going on. But again, the last 20 miles brought me down to humility a little bit as the light started fading and my imagination started running wild of grizzlies just running into the road, or a grizzly, what would I do? Or if I could swerve, if I could turn around, or what if I tried to eat me? All sorts of terrifying thoughts. But let's have a little more coffee. Hello, Chipbot. How are you? But it's Saturday morning. It's Saturday morning. I really wish I could be on the patio or the front patio with you, enjoying the sunrise and enjoying the cool, fresh air. Because it's pretty where I'm at. It's really pretty where I'm at. And it's been a real pretty drive, a ride. Hear a motorcycle starting up outside. Checkout time's noon. I'm probably going to walk around this little town, maybe find a breakfast joint to call mine, see if they can whip me up a ham, cheese, and mushroom with American cheese, by the way, omelet the way I like them and the way I like them back home, and enjoy my morning. Part of me was tempted, and I rarely feel this way. I mean, I love riding my scooter. I love it as much as anybody. But usually when I'm riding the scooter, my goal is to get there. Part of me is tempted to go back over the mountain pass one more time since I'm here. But that would make it a whole lot of riding on the day, so I'm probably not going to do that. When checkout time happens around noon, I'm already going to have had plenty of time to explore Cook City. I think I've walked to the end and back 3 times already. Not too much here, but a kind of neat little town. I'll be honest, I found this little stand. For some reason, there was one guy outside lighting these fires at about 9 o'clock at night, and he was standing by something called like the Wahuka, diner, but it wasn't a diner. It was just like a hut. And I was looking around. I didn't think it was open, but the guy that was lighting these little fires came in and said, "Are you hungry?" I go, "Well, yeah, I actually am." And he pointed at me the menu that was written on this little board, and tacos were like $8. Seemed a lot. He said, a burrito will be about triple the price. So I'm thinking a $25 burrito is pretty expensive, so I started with one taco. But let me tell you, it was delicious, and I ate it by the campfire, or not the campfire, this little fire he'd set up, and enjoyed the warmth and the nice smells of the fire and the delicious taste of the taco so much that I ordered 2 more of a different type, and they were delicious as well. Kind of sat there and enjoyed the fire and wondered who would possibly come here. He said he was open till 11:15. But let me tell you, it was a Friday night, and there was really nobody, I don't know who was going to stop by his little restaurant in the next couple hours. I don't know how he stays afloat. Guess it wasn't my concern, but I was sitting there enjoying these little tacos, realizing I'm the only patron here, and it's 9 o'clock, and he says he's open till 11:15, and there's, nobody else really in the town, and everything else is shut. But who knows? Not my worry. I think Ken might have a good time. Were they corn or flour tortilla? I believe they were corn. I usually like flour, but they were corn. It was dark. I trying to refresh my memory, but they usually with the corn tortillas, and the corn tacos, they're really small. And RJ, you're really into food, so you'll like this. They were delicious, and they were bigger, and they were more filled than I'm used to from what you're thinking of these tacos. Usually, corn tortilla tacos are kind of little wimpy little things that are like 2 bites, but these were good, and there was a bunch of different varieties. And I started with the Poppy, which was a steak, and it had little fresh cut cucumbers in it, which was surprising, and a few other things that are slipping my mind. And then I went to what the next one was called, and I don't know, but I picked it because it had wasabi in it, and I'm a big fan, and I really enjoyed those as well. So while I'm sitting there, yeah, I said we're open till 11:15. And again, it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night. And, occasionally somebody would walk by back to their hotel room, but it's not like a bustling community where I'm going to expect a 10 p.m. rush if I'm him. I'm assuming I was his maybe only customer. I got there, he was lighting fires like he was just starting off. I don't know if they sold alcohol or not, or I don't know. Maybe they had some weird gathering at 11 o'clock or 11:30 after the doors closed where, I don't know, grizzly bears came out of the woods and they did some druidic, I don't know, ceremony. Roger's going to gain 20 pounds there. It was delicious. It was delicious. And it's real pretty here. And I think it's a really neat town. And just to keep my mental health and kind of enjoy life a little bit, I applied to a restaurant back in Chicago yesterday morning. Kind of nice restaurant, a higher end restaurant. Got online. Somebody had mentioned that they were hiring yesterday, and got online and applied. And because of that, I felt like I'd accomplished a lot yesterday morning. I did my show and applied for a job, and didn't know what my day held in front of me, or what life holds. And there were a couple things I wanted to accomplish, and one of them while I'm here again was ride the Beartooth Highway. So that probably spurred me and motivated me, and got me on my bike and got me riding on a crazy cool bucket list adventure up and over the Beartooth Highway, and just had a great time. Mr. Mason wants to know if there's any good donut places here. Well, Mr. Mason, there's like 2 kind of grocery/general stores. There's 2 gas stations that may or may not sell donuts. But there's certainly no exclusive donut store in Cook City. I mean, you guys have the access to the internet. Perhaps you should Google if there's any great donut shops in Cook City, Wyoming. I would bet the answer would be some Dunkin' Donuts 100 miles away. Oh, I'll tell you what. Montana is apparently an open carry state. Oh, okay. Little man, cute man walking by with a dog as I'm loading up my gear onto my scooter. Feel kind of cool doing that because you kind of stand out and people walk around and admire the bikes that people have. And you could tell some people were looking at mine and going, what's that all about? What is that all about? And older gentleman and I got to talking, and it's nice meeting people from different places. And I talked to a guy in the coffee shop for a little while, and he talked about his childhood and visiting Chicago from where he grew up in Bozeman, Montana, and being a kid that had never seen a building over 2 stories high when he was young. And because he won some award, he got to visit Chicago, which is where I grew up, and experience the big city in a way a kid in Montana in the 60s and early 70s would never experience. And got to go up to the top of the Sears Tower when it was just being finished with construction, and still had great memories of that. But anyway, I'm back out on the street, and I see and there's a lot of American flags, and I don't want to get political 2 days in a row, but I noticed one guy had a pistol on his hip. I thought, wow, it seems kind of strange to me. Not used to seeing that, but whatever. I wasn't going to mess with him whether he had a gun or not, but either way. And a man walked by with a dog, and I noticed he had a hat on that said NRA. And he was starting to tell me a story, and he lost track of the story. And he goes, lost track of where I was. And he sat there and pondered. I go, oh, it's okay. And then he goes, they're going to start calling me Biden if I keep doing this. And I kind of chuckled and said, not with that hat on, they won't, sir. So those are my political comments for today. But it is Saturday morning. I'm excited about my day. I got a ride back through beautiful Lamar Valley. I don't know. It's so weird living in the parks. Again, I was thinking about it when RJ said, should I spend more time in the map room? You hang out in your dorm room, your place of work, the cafeteria, or the map room, and they're all right next to each other. And that's why I find myself leaving the park and getting out of Dodge and going down to Gardner or what have you as often as I do, because you can only spend so much time in your dorm room or the map room or the cafeteria or your work room, especially when you're not on work. And honestly, it's kind of challenging on your days off to fill time. And it feels so good to get out of town and get in a neat place with neat stores and different people and different restaurants and choices of food and humanity. And feels so good to be out. And I'll tell you what, there's two ways to ride from Yellowstone to Chicago. And there's one way is the south way. I mean, there's more than two ways, but there's two ways that avoid the highways. One way is the south way that goes through Cody and Nebraska and Iowa and then Illinois. And the other way would come back the way I am right now and go up the Beartooth Highway and then across Montana and into South Dakota and then down. And I think on my ride home, given I get out of here early enough, I'm going to go the north way, and I'm going to come back the way I'm at right now. And on the ride yesterday, I was thinking how excited I'm going to be all packed up and heading home to get back to Chicago and see my family and my friends and all the things I know and love back home. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. And again, just riding that way, thinking I'm an hour and a half or 2 hours or 100 miles or whatever it was into my journey back to Chicago, thinking if I, had all my gear packed up, I'd only have 1,400 more miles to go. And it was an exciting thought. And I'm looking forward to that day. And I'm looking forward to going to see my kids and giving them kisses and having soft beds to lay in and coffee to drink and officially knowing my job is done here in Yellowstone and be heading back home to a job that I know will pay me well and 4 beautiful kids that I love with everything I got, and area that is the western suburbs of Chicago that I know and love as well. And looking forward to heading back. Are you going to leave before October? I don't know. Brian's Rock drove from Virginia to Chicago a while back. Love that city. Yeah, Chicago's cool, and you probably didn't go to the suburbs. The people are just people I'm used to, and there's a lot of niceties that you have living in a town or a city where you're at that you'd probably take for granted. You take for granted that you have a grocery store that sells anything you need and at grocery store prices. But yeah, it's just different living in Yellowstone. And when you talk to people from the area and you say you get a little lonely, I think they understand. They realize what living in a national park is like, maybe more than you guys. You guys think, oh, Yellowstone, that'd be so awesome. And it is awesome, but it's a great place to visit. And for me, as a guy that likes the hustle and bustle of the city, I am looking forward to getting back and enjoying a donut from Mariano's. Oh, that sounds so good. Oh, that sounds so good. And really, the only thing that is stopping me from getting back to seeing my kids, because one thing I've learned on this trip out here, I think one of the big values, there's been a few values, some I'll talk about, some I wouldn't, is having a job secured back in Chicago. And if I was there right now, and I'm just looking for a waiter job, because I've realized working out here, I kind of enjoy waiting tables. The pay can be fairly good, and I'm pretty good at it. And given those things and the amount of nicer restaurants there are in my hometown or the area that I live in, I think there's a lot of opportunity. And if I was there and could walk into a restaurant, I think I could get hired today. But applying online is more of a process and more impersonal. And, my resume might not say world's best waiter on it. But I think if I walk in and shake a manager's hand and say hello and share some experiences, he's going to go, wow, we'd like this guy working for us. At least that's my hope, and that's my experience. But anyway, really the only thing stopping me from packing up and heading home, yes, I need to find housing. And yes, housing is expensive. But I've realized one can make a good amount of money doing what I'm doing and pursuing Coffee with Ken and following my dreams and still working hard at nights or lunch shifts or whatever in a restaurant environment, covering my financial responsibilities, paying for that RV or small apartment or little home or whatever I end up finding to live in while I'm there. And then on my time off, I I'll be seeing my kids and doing what I need to do and loving on my little boy, Augie, who really needs his data, and my little girl, Eve, needs her data too. And my big girls need their data as well. And, yeah. So really all that's stopping me is securing a job at a nicer restaurant back in the Chicago area. And there's a whole bunch of them. And I applied to one yesterday. If I applied to 5 more today, I could probably secure a job. I could finish out this week of work or let them know and finish out this week of work or whatever they wanted and hop on my bike and head back and go see my kids. And I think that would be the best adventure of them all. Oh. Well, all good suggestions. All good. No. People are talking about loving Clara's. I worked at Clara's once. 20 years ago, I worked at Clara's. Great Italian joint. I don't know if the money would be enough there. I mean, maybe it would. Yeah, now you guys are talking. Now you're talking. We got a lot of... Roger, where are you from? Do I know you, Roger, from Naperville? You must know Naperville, obviously. Yeah, now you guys are talking. There's a lot of nice restaurants there. A lot of nice restaurants downtown. A lot of nice restaurants in St. Charles. Yeah, I worked at the original spot of Clara's when it used to be a joint. used to be this kind of hole in the wall that I personally thought was more charming than what it is today. They bought Clara's is a great Italian restaurant in Woodridge, Illinois, which is right between where I grew up, Downers Grove, and where I live in Naperville. And it was a great, great Italian restaurant, and used to be in this little hole-in-the-wall strip mall, but their business was always booming, and they bought a closed-down Krispy Kreme and made it kind of a fancier Italian restaurant. And I think the food's still quality, but I don't think the charm's anywhere near what it was. It used to be a place where you could almost picture a mobster sitting in the corner and enjoying his favorite dish and knowing the restaurant owner and what have you. It wasn't that. It wasn't New York City or even Chicago. It was just suburb of Chicago, but that's what I imagined. It was real authentic Italian. And, plenty of great places to work back in Chicago. And I would love nothing more. I've realized I can wait tables at I think a fairly nice restaurant and do a good job. Not a perfect job, but work hard and have a good attitude. And I think my customers will like me no matter where I'm working. And I think I can make a good living. My body can physically handle it, which I wasn't sure when I headed out. And I can make enough money to afford the housing that I didn't believe I could afford when I left Chicago, and that brought me to Yellowstone. So if I keep working hard and keep doing my coffee with Ken's and keep drinking my coffee, keep sharing my journey, keep applying online, maybe following up with phone calls or texts or touching anybody I know back home that has any connections, and I could start heading back east soon and heading towards my kids. And I cannot tell you how I can't wait to see my kids. Young Madre doesn't understand exactly. Young Madre said, heck, try Trader Joe's. Not waiting, but people love working there. Yeah, Young Madre, Trader Joe's would be fun, but I got a lot of financial responsibilities, and I gotta make more money than Trader Joe's is going to pay. Roger Leone is saying, move to Four Lakes. That's a singles paradise. It's funny, I sold more homes in Four Lakes than probably anybody, and I think I know it better than anybody. But I do not want to live in Four Lakes again. I've done that, been there, done that. Yeah. I'm glad you're motivated today. Keep up the good spirits. Well, Henry, thank you. Tell you what, it feels so good getting out of the park. It really does. And the park's beautiful. The park is beautiful. It really is. But it's just a little quieter, and it's not home for me. And it's a place where I'm at to work and to make money and save money and send money out to various people that need it. And but I'll be excited to head back home. Pack up the scooter and head back home. Don't know if it'll be this week or this month. But again, like I said yesterday, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and the light looks pretty. And I'm looking forward to it. So, but anyway, it's Saturday morning. Got a quiet morning ahead of me, a quiet day. Got a hour and a half ride back into the park, and get there probably fairly early, maybe work out, maybe have a dinner, maybe have a quiet night, and get ready to go back to work tomorrow. I think I'm working the breakfast lunch shift, so I'm going to do my Coffee with Ken show probably pretty early tomorrow before breakfast. Going to work 2 crazy shifts. Hopefully make a decent amount of money and save a little bit for the future, and hopefully have a good experience and a calm shift. And if I don't, that's okay, because you got to take the good with the bad. Is everyone looking out the dining room at the table right now and it's empty? You mean because I'm not there? I don't know. I don't think we have any waiters watching right now. A lot of times I'll do my show right outside the dining room because, again, there's not too many other places to be. There's not too many other places to be. So I'll do my show in the morning just outside the dining room. And if it's before the shift starts, a lot of people will hop on and be watching me that work there. And I got a strange number of people that I work with that watch my videos now. And they think it's neat. It's funny, I used to think I needed people I met. I thought I would spread Coffee with Ken by word of mouth and stuff like that. But it's not for everybody. And I don't expect, and whether somebody I know wants to watch it or not, doesn't indicate the quality or lack thereof of the show itself. And I think if you get online and you're consistent and you work hard and you have something to say, over time, your audience will find you. And whether you want to talk about crocheting or cutting wood or burning fires or Boy Scouts or, I don't know, teaching mathematics, I think if you have a passion for your subject matter and a determination and a joy in sharing whatever that subject matter might be, your audience will find you and you'll grow your audience over time. But calling all my friends and saying, hey, I do a coffee talk show, watch me talk. They're going to say, oh, I see you talking up, Ken. I don't want to watch you on my phone. Somebody's saying they pay me $500 a month to work out here. I don't understand Gator League. No. Room and board at the national parks, at least at the ones Xanterra operates, which are several. They operate Grand Canyon. They operate Death Valley, Glacier National, Yellowstone, obviously. They just handle all the business side of it. Obviously, the National Parks Service runs it, but the Xanterra is the company that contracts out the hotel management and the restaurant management and the just all the employees, if you will. And because of that, they put us up in dorms and for $500 a month. So my room and board is $500 a month. But I'll tell you, I'm earning real money here and don't have an ability to spend it in the national parks because there's just not a lot to spend it on. Not a whole lot of activity or what have you. No golf courses, if you will. Couldn't bring my golf courses out on my scooter anyway. Anyway, it's pretty cheap living in there. And if you're making decent money, you'd be surprised how much you can either save up or how many financial responsibilities you can cover. I was a Boy Scout till first class. I did not have the love of Boy Scouts that maybe you need to have to make it to Eagle Scout. And I think I did it because my older brothers were in it. And I like fires and fishing and outdoor stuff. But it might have been a little more maybe organized than I'm comfortable doing. Yeah. I don't think I would have done well in the Army. And I only loved the Boy Scouts so much. And again, I think I probably did it because it's what my brothers did and a lot of my friends were doing. Ken Z asked, what do I do in my downtime? Well, yesterday I took a ride out to Red Lodge Inn, which is about 4 hours away, and rode on some of the most beautiful roads in the world through mountains. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to do. You sleep, you eat, you shower, you do laundry, and then you go back to work. Honestly, I spend a lot of my time speeches for our troops. What would I say to our troops? Thank you for your service. I love shaking veterans' hands. I don't know what I would say to troops to fire them up. I don't know. I think they want somebody of the... I won't say it. I'll get in trouble. But anyway, yeah, there's not a whole lot to do in the park in your downtime. So what I honestly find myself doing more than anything is riding my scooter down to Gardner, Montana, and going to a coffee shop and editing videos and talking to locals or employees as best I can. And yeah, you might be. Yeah, so there's not a whole heck of a lot to do in the park. I mean, you can hike. If you like hiking, there is all the hiking you can do. Young lady I work with goes on 20-plus mile hikes. She must really like hiking. Most interesting person I've waited on so far. I mean, I've never waited on any. Lou Henson. Back in the 80s or 90s. He was the coach of the Illinois. And I worked at a nice restaurant down in Champaign. And he would bring in recruits and wine and dine them. I don't know if he wined them, but he dined them at a nice restaurant or take them out to dinner. And other than that, I can't think of anybody real interesting that I've ever waited on. I have met Muhammad Ali. Does he use sticks for the 20 milers? It's a she, and she probably does. I don't know. The Ludo. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's have a little more coffee. But I don't know what else I have for you. I don't think I touched on anything real inspirational, did I? I probably didn't. But this show is just a show of one man's journey. And this is the one man, and this is where my journey takes me. And I'm looking forward to where my journey takes me the rest of the day. If I keep my eye on the ball and go at the day with a little enthusiasm, and I think I could probably find a job back in the Chicago area. I'm kind of scared to do it, honestly. Scared because I know a bunch of people I'd be serving, because I know a lot of people in that area, and that might be a little weird. Plus, I need to find housing, and that seems kind of intimidating. And I've honestly been spoiled by my $500 a month housing that I have here. But then again, I come to a hotel and experience life outside the park and realize how much the little things matter than having access to my own coffee without going to the cafeteria, or just laying in bed and having a remote control in my hand, or having a bathroom in my room. And I think my needs have shrunk a lot since I've gotten out here. And I used to think I needed a house and a yard and all this other stuff. And if I just had a little tiny studio with a bathroom, if it had a bathtub, oh yeah, it'd make me happy. That was clean, and a little kitchen area, and a place where I could have my little Augie and Eve stay over. I think that would be all I need, and I'd love it. And I don't know, that makes me smile, and that makes me excited. I want to talk about the Stetson hat one more time. I want to talk about that. I think you were getting an RV when I get back. I would love that, Bray. I don't have the money for an RV right now, and the odds of me moving might be sooner than later. So I keep looking at RVs every day. I keep exploring options. I'm keeping all options open. But the one thing I want to do, and the one thing that matters most, is getting back to Chicago to be with my kids as soon as possible. So everything else is secondary. Obviously, I need a job and a place to live. And if I could get an RV and ride that back across the country, that'd be ideal. And I am reaching out to people every day, putting soft indications of interests on RVs. But until the right thing kind of fell into my lap, I don't think I can afford it right now. But I'd love to. I want to talk about the Stetson hat one more time. I don't know if what's holding me back from buying the Stetson is a frugality, or if it's fashion, or if it's the desire to be a minimalist and just not want extra stuff to carry around. I have 2 baseball hats I like a lot. A Stetson hat costs $100 to $150-ish and kinda takes up a lot of room. And one thing I don't have a lot of room on is my scooter. And if I do get an RV, I don't think maybe I just don't want one. Maybe I just don't want one. And maybe that's okay. How much do I make in tips per day? I'd say somewhere between, if I could average it out, it depends the shifts I'm working, but I'd say on average, I make $275 a day in tips, or $250 in tips, on average. Some days less, where I'll only work a breakfast and lunch shift. Some days more, I'll work a lunch and dinner shift, and I might make $400. And so the money's pretty good. And again, with room and board only being $500, I don't drink. And Mary wants to know if I'd wear a cowboy hat on my scooter. No, I don't think so. A, it would probably blow off, although my baseball hat doesn't. And B, when I'm doing most of my riding, I'm wearing a helmet. Sometimes I don't, but only for short little rides. Yeah. I would like the sun protection that a cowboy hat would provide. You know, when you're wearing a baseball hat, this little spot right here, and your neck is, and your ears are still in the sun. And, Bray Olson said that's way good money. Yeah, no, I was quite honestly surprised. I got my first paycheck and I have 2 ex-wives and I have 4 beautiful kids, sent checks off to them and still had money left over and go, wow, we make more money than I thought, which was a good feeling, I'm not going to deny. And, but this isn't a permanent thing, and it can't be a permanent thing, and God doesn't want me away from my kids no matter how much I'm making for very long. And although there's other options and other parks and, you know, winter opportunities to work in a national park, my life's not meant to be waiting tables in a national park. I think it was a good stepping stone to get me back on my feet and what have you. Chris advises me, Ken, my man, you got to pay tax on the tips. Oh, I know, Chris. I'm paid my tips through the company, and they take taxes out. 90% plus of our tips are done, probably 95% of the tips we make-ish are done via credit card. So the taxes are already taken out. Put that money under the tax table. You can't put that money under the table, Roger. No tax on tips if Trump gets back in office. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. It's my income. I don't know. I have no state sales tax or no state income tax here in Wyoming. That's nice. Living in Illinois, I think the income tax is like 8.25%. That's a healthy boost of income right there. Got to think about that. I was going to mention the tip tax too, and back in Illinois, it's even worse. Yeah, there's an opportunity to work. I could work at Death Valley, I think, this winter. And I was thinking about doing that for a while, and it'd be for the same company. Again, the housing would be $500 a month, and they pay $16 an hour to work there, plus tips. So the money might seem real good, but I talked to a couple people that live in California, and they talk about how high taxes are on everything, and how although the money sounds attractive, when all is said and done, the boost to your bottom line isn't going to be any higher. I was talking to a guy in Montana about it yesterday, and we were joking about how much property costs in Bozeman and in Montana and across the country, and how Target in Bozeman starts people at $21 an hour, and that seems like a ton of money. When I was a kid, 16, my first pay, I got $3.35 an hour. And you're thinking, wow, that's 4 times as much as I made back then. But housing has gotten so crazy. And I think people don't realize that when you raise minimum wages, costs across the board go up as well. You know, the Big Mac is suddenly $5 to buy or $6 or what have you. And you have lunch at McDonald's and you're spending $11. You know, you rent a 1-bedroom in Bozeman, Montana or Naperville, Illinois, and it's $2,000 a month. And yeah, it sounds like a ton of money that I make $250 a night in tips or whatever. But in the real world, you know, with gas being $4.50 a gallon and rent on 1-bedroom apartments being $2,000 a month, and to buy a home, the average home in Naperville's probably $500,000+, and cereal being $8 a box, and every being taxed and inflationed to death. Money doesn't go as far as it used to, and we shouldn't be surprised by that. That is what happens when we just keep raising the minimum wage. And I'll tell you what, the more they raise the minimum wage, the more kids are living at home with their parents, and the more kids are living in their cars, and the more homeless people we have on the streets. So I would say the proof is in the pudding that raising the minimum wage isn't a solution, or the government throwing money on to people during the COVID years isn't the solution. And I don't think government spending or government laws work, because they have me living in a national park 1,500 miles away from my children because I can afford housing here and I can't afford it back home. And I think we need to stop the direction we're going. And I think we are going to stop the direction we're going. But you're never going to see deflation. You're not going to see prices go down. But I'll tell you what, just continuing to raise the minimum wage, if you're paying the kids working at McDonald's for the summer $100 an hour, I promise you that Big Mac's going to cost a heck of a lot, because the companies can't pay it and not pass those costs on to the consumer. And you and I and the kids working at McDonald's are all the consumers. And they're the ones that can't afford college and can't afford a home to stay in and stay with their parents. And I don't know. Don't think it's good. Well, yeah, that's Gregory. That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah, the government printing more money, and that's what we're saying. And that's why I'm living in Montana and kids are living in their cars. And I don't know. I hear areas on the West Coast have homeless everywhere, because it really doesn't matter how much you make if you can't afford to rent a house or buy food. And, yeah. So I think there's a lot of problem. Would I go back to working in finance? No. I never was. No. I think I have more value in other things. Finance to me, I mean, if somebody wanted me to hire me in some capacity to do something that had something to do with money, I'd sure take a job. But I don't want to sell securities or do any of that ever again. I think I'm headed in the right direction, and I don't even know where that direction leads, but I think I'll find it. And whether I'm doing my coffee show or doing a coffee show from an RV as I drive across the country, or waiting tables part-time in Chicagoland, doing my coffee show and loving on my kids, or hanging out in a Starbucks on some time off when I'm not hanging out with my kids. I don't know where my path leads me. I do know I'm enjoying the ride, and I hope you're enjoying your ride as well. I had a great day yesterday. It was one of my best days in the park, And I spent most of it holding onto my steering wheel and sitting on my scooter as I'm riding through some beautiful areas. And um, posted a video on Instagram of me talking up around 11,000 feet. And if you look down, if you watch that video, watch it again, you can look down, and at my feet level, you can see these little windy things. And those are windy roads thousands of feet below me. And it was part of the Beartooth Highway that was twisting and turning up and down these mountains. And it was just beautiful. And again, usually I'm in a hurry to get where I'm going. But yesterday, getting there was really an awesome experience. So I appreciate you guys for joining me on this Saturday morning. Thank you for saying that, young Madre. I think I'm doing what I need to do, and I have my eye on the ball, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to get back to my ball and get back to my kids, but I know if I apply to several restaurants in the Chicagoland area, even if it's online and even if I don't get to walk in and shake a hand, I'll do okay. And I'll be able to pack up the scooter and head back and find a place to stay and work hard and bring a good attitude and continue to do my coffee show and continue to cover my financial responsibilities. And if I find myself in the right restaurant, I'll be able to put a roof over my head, even at those inflated prices. And, that would make me so happy. I'm happy right now. But I cry every day when I FaceTime my little boy and girl. And that's okay too. I hope you do see me sometime, young Madre too. Are you from Naperville? You probably are. Are you a Latina? Is that why you go by Madre? I don't know. But either way. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this Saturday morning. You've been a great audience. Sorry if I didn't talk about anything super inspirational today. Sorry I wasn't able to do my show on the patio outside, but the connection wasn't too good. And so I'm in my hotel room doing the best I can. And I think that's what God wants us to do, just to do the best we can. And I'm going to do the best I can today, and I hope you do as well. Hope you enjoy your day. Hope you enjoy your Saturday. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you had a great night's sleep. Hope you had a great week behind you. Hope you're loving yourself, and hope you're forgiving yourself. And as always, I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.